Hello, everyone. Welcome to TeachConnect. TeachConnect is a platform for all the teachers to upskill themselves as well as post their resume. Today, we have the privilege of introducing an extraordinary individual who is my friend, Meghana Musunuri, a nominee for the Global Teacher Prize. Meghana is not only an educator, but also a dedicated social worker. She is deeply committed to create an awareness among the students as well as in and around the community. I've met Meghana quite some time ago during an ozone run. I felt she was doing a lot of work. In a few interactions with her, I was not surprised to know that she was a Global Teacher Prize nominee. Today, I would like to interview her to understand how her educator journey has helped her to reach those kind of award winning places. We all know that for a teacher, it's an Oscar to be nominated at least to a Global Teacher Prize. It is similar to a sportsman being an Olympic gold medal winner. Thank you so much, Meghna, for joining our show. TeachConnect welcomes you. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for all the kind words that you shared. You wanted to share with your audience as well. Yeah.
There are so many other things which I have read about you, that you are a panelist at UN Water Conference 2023, and you are Pride of Telangana, then Global Teacher Prize Top 50, TEDx speaker. I've gone through your LinkedIn profile. I was really feeling proud that I know you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I would like to understand a few more. I would like to understand a few more things from you, and I would also want teachers to stay motivated about this.
I've never worked towards the recognition, Sandeep. It is just a part of the journey, right? It is more to do with what is the end goal of this particular project? This is how I always work. And these recognitions and accolades actually came along. And when they knocked on my door, I felt that, it is actually making me more responsible with, and with when you are kept on a pedestal and said that whatever you're doing good, and we really appreciate is again okay, now that more eyes are on me and I need to be more vigilant on what I do. So yeah.
Good one. Can you please share with us your journey as an educator and what inspired you to extend your work into the social and sustainability initiative? Because normally teachers tend to keep them to themselves. They feel that the mere lesson plan should do wonders for students and they are being paid for whatever they have been taught. How is that you have picked up this inspiration?
Okay. So I have to go back to my family history a little bit, because my grandmother was a principal or headmistress in a government school. My mom was one. So I think I'm the third generation teacher in the family. But then when it comes to, I never thought that, while studying, I was never aiming to becoming a teacher, to be frank. So I did my computer science program, and then, I got married. So after marriage is when the question comes, when are you having your babies? Because my education did not prepare me to be a very efficient mom. I had my doubts, right? Like, because I didn't know what to do if the babies come and all of that. So I went to study child psychology in UK, and I then wanted to see how does this work in real time. So I went and I started teaching and helping in the kindergartens in Central London School. And that's how my journey into teaching started. And it made me very curious, and then that is the first time when I realized that, there are special needs children who need extra attention. There are ways to teach these, now children on autistic spectrum. whatever, like, dyslexic and all of these ADHD. So these are all the words that I'm hearing for the first time in my life, way back 24 years ago. Right. So this made me really curious. And I was thinking, like, how did I even grow up without knowing all these children existed? So that made me more curious. And then I went into, studying a little more and, like, did my, work with the special children as well. And I think after 4 years is when I felt more comfortable of that idea that, I will be able to do justification if I become a mother now. Right. So that is how my journey started. So once
You
I
have.
was raising my, yeah, once I was raising
Yes.
my children, I wanted to move back to India because I grew up with my grandparents here. My parents, like, felt like I always felt that, it is good to grow up with great grandparents, knowing their stories and all of that. That would give a very strong foundation for my children. So when I moved back, I started a small kindergarten school where I thought I was good at. Uh, but then, with all the support of all the parents, we went on to becoming a proper K-12, kindergarten to 12th class, over the years. Every year, like, it was a struggle for us because mentally I was not prepared for this. But what I was prepared was, like, every child who comes into Fountainhead Global School will learn something before they step out of the school. This was my attitude towards children.
Mm.
And I would, like, I had certain principles in education that I felt would benefit the child. So we would not take children coming from far distances. We were always particular that, the children who are living in the local vicinity should, like, come to the school. Because for me, a child's future is not about just the studies. It's a holistic development.
Mm.
First thing is that, I wanted these children to be strong physically, and I wanted them to be strong mentally. Then they will be able to do some justification on with their studies, with their sports, with their life in general, all put together. So emotionally, socially, physically, only when they are strong, that is proper education for me. So we had a lot of activities outdoors.
When have
So
you started your school?
this is in 2010.
Oh, then
So
you're
we moved
way
to
ahead,
India.
and you all have introduced the NEP way ahead right in 2010.
Yeah. So,
What are the best practices you have applied to students so that you can integrate the social work as well as the sustainability practices into your education? You being a teacher, what is that
yes.
new element which you have brought in? Maybe way back, that was a
Yeah.
very new element, and you must have faced a few hardships also. I would like to know two parts of the question. The first one being what are the best practices you have incorporated? And the next
Right.
one is how did you face the parents, the then parents in 2010 to 2000, say later on for another 5 years or so?
Yeah. So initially, it was any parent who would come to visit us. The first question was, "How new is your school? Like, or what new can you teach my child?" I would correct them saying, "I'm not going to teach anything new. I'm going to teach something useful." So I would tell this to the parent. And then they were like, "Okay, what are those things?" I said, I want them to be eating healthy. So initially, the first year, I would provide food and I would tell the children how we make a healthy meal, what makes a healthy meal, and how we have to make our choices while we are eating. Because while growing up, most of the parents have this issue with their children craving for chocolates, junk food, drinking soda or drinking fizz drinks. All these things will start very young in that age. So I wanted my students to be aware of the choices that they make and how is it going to help their body or deplete their body. So this is something that I used to teach. And then when it comes to because I want these children to be facing the future, I was more interested in trying to bring people from across the world to actually interact with our students and tell them, like, this is not a small world. The world is really large, huge, and then people from other countries can come and talk to us. So I
Not
never wanted
the
to.
world is not limited to geography textbook now.
Yeah. And I wanted my children to realize that, I as a child also has access to all these people around the world. And for me, education is not in those four walls, what we teach, those alphabet or numbers or make them to read or write. Education is like in trying to understand the world around them, how it works, what is that they have to concentrate. And it should be motivating for the child to be able to learn things. Because for a child, they don't understand why are they taught alphabet, and they will not even know where to use it as well, right? So, but then we slowly started teaching them, how these alphabet, where and all you can see the alphabet, on those boards in the newspaper headings. And and then I would say, do you recognize this? Oh, I'm sure, you must have, seen these alphabet here, there. So then they started reading the alphabet, and then slowly small words, big words. So by the time they're in PP2, they learn how to read the headlines of the newspaper. And we used to teach them coding through gamification in those days. So these were a couple of things that, and then I used to give away plants as gifts for their birthday. So, and every year I used to give them first one plant in the beginning of the year. And I think after 3 months, we would go home to check on the, health of the plant to the child's house to see, here it is not just to see how the plant is doing, it is to see the mindset of the environment the child is actually growing up in. So we had definitely different parents, their mentalities and their excuses of why the plant couldn't survive. And then we also had
learning, and that's also a learning for the child, that the plant is not surviving in all ground and in all soils, and how it is to be taken care of, isn't there? There's a practical learning for the student.
Yes.
Failure is a better learning.
Yeah, and we also would share the stories of those children who could actually grow the plant beautifully, and click pictures of that, and appreciate them and all. So this became an encouraging thing for the children, saying that, oh, if I can actually care for it, not just take it home and leave it somewhere, I get recognized. So slowly that responsibility started inculcating into the child. And then we would do some of these programs on Save Water and Nature. So I also run this NGO called Save Water and Nature, where I would empower children to be able to be very, to know about the resources, natural resources, and how to handle them on a day-to-day basis. For example, water. So how do you preserve water is what I have, in every drop of water that you save is good enough. Because I used to see a lot of people using hose pipes, cleaning their cars, their verandas and all of that, and then struggling to get water in tankers from somewhere else, and then again follow the same practice. So they would never understand that the water that we have to save is the water that we get during the rainy season.
It is the holistic perspective of the teacher, which is keeping the students aware of the community, and the awareness being created among the students through teachers, and you directly monitor and you also get involved. I think that's a best practice which you are following in your school, isn't it? And how did you face the parents?
Right. So parents initially were skeptical because they don't know who I am. They only came with that tagline that she's come from the UK and she's done her studies in this line. So, this was the only trust that they had on me. And they left their children with me. So I'm very thankful and grateful because of these parents. When they trusted me is when I was able to showcase what can be done. So yes, they had their doubts because most of the parents, they were part of IT, and they couldn't believe that whatever they were able to learn after engineering or during their work, and I'm trying to inculcate that at the age of 5 or 6. So that was something very it was very difficult for the parent to accept. Anta chinna pillalki, they would say, why are we stressing out those young kids with all of this? I said, they're born into technology. For us, it might be stress, but for them, it comes naturally. So I used to actually give them that confidence, and then they would really like it, the way they are children. So we used to have this website called code.org, .in, code.org. So this is something which would help a child from 5 years and above to be able to learn coding for free. So I used to tell the mothers also, like, you can go also online along with the child and get to learn all of this. So that empowered my parents also in a way. And then they were like, yeah, this is not that a difficult task. It's just like,
I think
it's not.
your convincing skills have proved very nice over here, I guess. Or you have given that confidence to the parent. That's more important.
Very
And
true. And but we also have parents who couldn't get convinced. So we used to handhold them and say, like, conduct sessions in the school itself, in helping them understand how can they go about.
yes, these challenges have made you a better person. And this Global Teacher Prize is an Oscar for an actor. Can you please explain the process of being nominated for this Global Teacher Prize and what does this recognition mean to you personally and professionally?
A very good question, Andy. I would say I personally never thought that, I will nominate myself for a Global Teacher Prize in the beginning when I started working for the school and all. So usually, like, because I'm passionate about myself, how better a teacher I am today compared to yesterday. So even if I see that 1% improvement in myself, I want to see the same 1% improvement in my children as well. Right? It is not about, initially I used to teach them math, and then later I used to teach them English, and then later sometimes I used to teach them science, sometimes I used to teach them social studies. And it is not about the chapter that I wanted them to only look into. I would also give them insights about how this would work in the real time, and then take up a project and then, like, help them understand the real time implications of that particular lesson. So what do I, or where do I implement this, is something that I really wanted children to understand. So that actually helped them or motivated them to learn better. So I introduced, like, say, water and nature is one, and then we introduced something called Project Recycle Bin, which helps the child to understand, why do I have to recycle? Because these are all big words for children, right? Why do I have to reuse when my parents can buy me something new? Why do I have to reuse the same thing? They don't understand the word repair. This generation children don't understand the word repair.
Yes.
So I wanted to reintroduce that word repair and, help them understand, like, how you feel accomplished when something is not working and then you put in some efforts and made it work. So this is the first step of problem solving skills. Because today what we see is, majority, what we see is that if there is a problem, everybody are waiting for that one someone to come and solve that problem. So who is that someone? You should be that someone to be able to skill yourself so that you will be able to solve certain problems. So this was my approach for education. So education should empower the child to be able to solve not only their day-to-day problems, but also maybe, global problems. Because whenever you ask even a high school student, what is that you want to be in your life? The first thing they would say is, I want to be super rich. I said, how do you think you will become super rich? Right? So they wanted to serve the world and all. That is good. But they see it. Yeah, that is there. They have that feeling that they would want to give back to the society. But the first thing is super rich. I said, how do you think? So I would give them tasks saying, like, go check on all those people. How did they become super rich? They must have solved the most pressing problem of that time. That is how they've become super rich. So only when you have the problem solving skills is when you will be able to take the most pressing problem of that time. And if you find a solution, there you go, you paved your path to become that rich, super rich person. So this is something motivated my children to participate in most of the projects that I take up.
Yeah, get that. What are the steps which you have followed? Like, first is you have to work beyond the classroom and see that you help the students to identify themselves. That is the first step. Otherwise, no teacher can go to that level of being at least filing a nomination for a Global Teacher Prize. So what is the second step you feel? First is
So,
do some service beyond classroom. Second step is what?
okay, so it is more to do with I did not realize. So what they have a huge questionnaire of about 13 to 15 questions that we have to answer. And that actually took me through the journey of what I must have done. Let it be in the area of technology, or let it be in the area of giving back to the society, let it be in the, and it is not about what I did. It is more to do with what is the outcome of that particular project, right? So that actually, I think, weighs more than what we have done. See, efforts every teacher will put in, but what is the output of that each effort is what is measured when they are actually considering for this Global Teacher Prize. Because uh, say, for example, if I say, like, we revived a lake, we went on reviving Meghana Lake. It was a dead lake, and we completely converted that into a rainwater lake. So I involved my students in every step of it, saying, like, how do we apply for permissions, to understanding, like, what should be going on, and even auditing also, like, how this work is done, how do we audit that, and everything. So it's a complete project life cycle that they have learned. So how did that benefit? That benefited my students in these ways. And how did that benefit the community in these ways? And how did that benefit the environment? It brought back the biodiversity of the lake back into it. So there are many stakeholders who got benefited out of this particular project. So I think it's more to do with, what is the outcome of the project which matters.
Which also, I think, which also helps the society, is it?
Yes.
That's a basic instinct one should have.
Yeah. So, like, one of the instances, like, when I was running my school, I'm a young mother. So I had to use a lot of online tools to run the school. Like, after my kids go to bed is when I would, like, do all these things. And then I was also helping people to learn these, Google Docs, Google Sheets and everything, which was quite new to a lot of people. They would believe in, like, I have to go to school, or I have to go to this vendor, I have to go to this client and then submit that particular invoice, or, like, things like that. So I thought, no, there is another way that we can do about it, because the time when you come, I might not be around, I might be with my children. So I would teach them about all these things. And then I used their platform very efficiently to run the school. So Google themselves were surprised, like, how a school can be run using our free platforms. So I was using their Hangouts to invite people from across the world to interact with my students. I was using their Google AdWords and all of that. So I became their go-to story when they rolled out this particular program for 10,000 women to come online with Google. I was told, like, in 2019, this was in 2011. So, okay. And when I was doing all of this, Google said, Meghna, you're doing so much for us. Is there something Google can do for you? I said, why don't we create an online platform for education? They were like, why do you need an online platform for education? I said, there are a lot of young teachers who are talented, but might not be able to come to school on a certain days. There are so many children who has these limitations to go to school. There are a lot of people who can benefit out of this. So they took all those insights, and I think 8 months down the lane, they published about the work that we do as a school. And we are the first Indian school to be recommended by Google for education. They created that platform. And they said, here you go, this is what you wanted, right? And I said, best practices of schools can be also shared on this particular platform. So that's how my journey started with Google. I think in 2019.
In 2019,
when I went to Google to try and understand, like, how can I digitalize my entire school and all, is when they shared, like, the seeds that I saw are now 90 million users across the world. And post-pandemic, it is more than 3 billion users. So that's like a big pat for me to say that, those small seeds, we think that, oh, this is just a thing. Because usually, as teachers, we try and we check for authenticity. We see for examples. We do a lot of research. right? Did anything like this exist before? Then I can talk about it. But something which doesn't exist, we have our own reasons to doubt whether this will help or this will work out or whatever, right? But I think that one bold step actually helped me to share my thoughts. I haven't done other than sharing my thoughts, trust me. It is the entire credit goes to Google for creating that platform, which helped so many children to learn from that particular platform. So I feel so happy and I did contribute something back to the society is where I feel. So they check the learning outcomes of any projects in the scale, how many people did it improve. So it is not the number which again they're looking at, it is the quality that they're looking at. So when the judges are checking on the work that a teacher has done, it is not because there could be teachers who must be teaching in a very remote desert place. There they might be only having a handful of children that they are actually trying to make a difference. But are they really making a difference in their life is what the judges would look out in these forums. And this is one forum that I should actually tell that you will not pay a single penny, right? And also they appoint, so this is from the Varkey Foundation, so they appoint a third party to actually check on the authenticity of the work that you have done. All those 13 to 15 questions that you send out to them, they will also get it checked with the references, with who, did she do it, how many of them know about it, and all of that they'll cross-check, and then only they will select your portfolio, because it is not just about the teacher, it is also their name attached to this. Of course, there are a lot of other organizations who try to mimic this and charged people a bomb saying that, okay, we will give you that recognition and all of that. So we should be vigilant on these areas, on whether is this genuine or not. So Varkey Foundation is one institution where they wanted to showcase the teachers as one of the most important person of the society, and they should deserve the respect that they are contributing, because they are handling the most important resource of this world, which is future generation children, right? So they wanted to create that pedestal for the teachers, is why they started this Global Teacher Prize, to make people understand that how noble is this profession, how many people are being impacted with this, and so on and so forth. So teaching doesn't have to remain within that four walls or within those 10 chapters that we have to teach the child. Teaching can go beyond. Maybe there are amazing teachers who do a great job in counseling children, in handling their stressful scenarios, where if the child is coming from very abusive houses, there are teachers who went on to help children who are affected by right now wars, right? So these are all the areas where how people went out of their way. I mean, there are teachers who go and teach asylum children. There are teachers who go and teach maybe in the slums, right? They go out of their way to do so, and nobody's asking them to do so, right? It's voluntary. They are doing it on their own. It is not that because my principal asked me to go and do it, I did it. No, because I felt I want to do this. This is how I felt. I want to give it back to the society. This is how I felt that I want to take time out and do actual difference in that person's life. So this is what the intentions matter. Work, the intention, and the how much impact did it create in children. It is not how many children, how many adults, it is how much impact. Were you able to bring that change? Are you that change that you want to see in the world? There is a question that we always ask, right? Are we that? So this is how it is. And definitely there will be...
We should be that change. As a teacher, it's our responsibility to be that change, isn't it?
Yes. And these days I see some of the teachers are super enthusiastic, young blood coming into teaching profession and all. So a lot of times that they question themselves, thinking that, am I in the right profession, right? That is when, as other teachers or as parents, we have to give that support system to these young teachers who are joining into this profession, saying that, no matter whatever profession that we go, we will face hurdles and we are all in this together. It is not you alone. So if we can support, if all teachers can support each other saying this, I'm sure, we will definitely create that, enthusiasm in more and more people coming and joining this as a profession.